Welcome to Accent on Education. I am Laura Hoover, Culpeper County Public Schools Director of Communication, and I am really excited to be here today with two great guests, two recent graduates of Culpeper County Public Schools, who will be sharing some very exciting things about what they have accomplished so far and what they're going to do next. Our first guest today is Theresa Breckley, who has just graduated from Culpeper County High School. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here
so
today.
Nice to be here.
So Theresa, you just graduated. How does that feel?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah, it just feels nice.
That's awesome. Now, you graduated from Culpeper High School, but you also attended Mountain Vista Governor School.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good experience for you?
It was something. I go over to Laurel Ridge Community College in Warrenton for my base classes. So I'll take my calculus class, physics, my humanities class. This year it was international relations, and then my computer science class. So I do a lot of STEM-based classes there, and it's been a pretty good experience. I think what almost everyone at Gov School says coming out of it is, even if you're not going into a STEM field, the friendships you make there are just the best thing for you. I mean, we get through our college classes there, and then we go to college together a lot of the time. So it's just the friendships that we make there is really what got us through high school. So it was definitely, it's a great program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So next stop is UVA.
Yay.
So you are going to UVA, and you will be on the track and field team. So I want to talk a little bit about track and field, and for those who don't know, tell us about what you do.
I throw shot put and discus mainly. So shot put, it's just a 4-kilogram iron ball, and I throw that as far as I can. And then discus is the same thing. It's just a round disc that I throw. I've been doing it since freshman year, I think. I started off on the track team wanting to be a sprinter and a jumper, and also because I was on a softball team. I played softball for 7 years, and my best friend Susie, she was doing softball with us. We were doing softball conditioning, and she had joined the cross country team recently. So she had gotten in pretty good shape. So she was like, oh, I've gotten in shape because of cross country, so I joined the team to get in better shape for softball. And from there, I tried all the different events like all the new starters do, and Mark just seemed to think that shot put and disc fit me best. So definitely wasn't the goal, but we're here now, and I'm not upset with the results.
So that's kind of how life works sometimes. It just works itself out. So freshman year, how did the season go?
It was pretty good. I'm trying to remember. My first meet, I want to say it was my first meet. Everyone think it was the first meet. I broke the school record. The indoor school record.
Meet.
Yes, my first meet.
As a freshman?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So that was good. I actually didn't find out about that until the end of the winter season.
Okay.
So I hadn't known I broke the school record. I didn't know any of that. I just kept throwing. It was kind of difficult. Mark worked really heavily with everyone, really, but it's hard to, divide your time among all the events. So a lot of the time it was me and some of the junior and senior throwers, so I learned a lot from them at first. So it was kind of difficult for me to progress past that barrier that I had hit through the season because I didn't really have a form coach and stuff like that, so I was throwing mainly off strength. So, that was that. But it was a pretty good season. I think I got 4th at indoor states, and then I didn't make it to finals at spring states, which was kind of rough, but it is what it is.
Okay, so then did you play softball that year, or did you do outdoor track?
Yeah, I did both.
Okay.
So I didn't go to any outdoor track practices or anything. Mark was very understanding. I told him right off the bat that I was a softball player. At least that's what I thought I wanted to be. So I focused on softball, and I went to a single home meet, and then I went to districts, regions, and states for a track. And yeah, I mean, it was fine. I did both. It was kind of a struggle, going between a sport that I can't remember if I was even that good at, to doing pretty well at a new sport that I was trying. It was kind of but it was a fun season.
Okay. And so then sophomore year comes around, and then what happened that year?
So that winter season, I want to say, I think I got 2nd at states that winter season. Oh, I had just gotten a new coach. William Yancey from Kettle Run came over, and he helped coach coach us up a little bit, which I was very appreciative of. But he kind of split his time between Kettle Run and Culpeper. So I finally had a coach there, so I was learning the actual proper form and everything. So I got second at states by, I think, maybe a quarter of an inch to a senior that was graduating, who I think her name was Jamie Young. She never came back to throw in the spring, so I never got to actually beat her. I did end up beating her mark at the spring states, so that was my first time I had won a state championship. So I got gold in shot put and gold in discus, so it was a nice little spring.
State championship winning started sophomore year and then never stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a pretty good season. I progressed pretty far, and that was the first year I had actually done discus. So I think I started throwing disc a week before my first meet of the spring season. And that meet, I qualified for state, and then I went to state and I won. So that was definitely a nice little season, especially while we were still playing softball.
So at what point did you decide this is what I need to focus on?
It was actually after that state championship. You know, my parents, my dad was a big baseball, football guy, you know, all the basic, not basic, but the you know, the core sports that everyone starts off at. So he really still wanted me to keep going with softball, which is completely valid. Like, I completely understand that. That's what he knows. But after that state championship, my dad, he came up to me just like, listen, like, this is something you're pretty good at. This is something I think you should focus on. And at that point, I had already kind of come to that realization. You know, I had my last softball game, and I cried with my best friend. I'm like, I think I'm done here. So after that, I was really like, I got to focus on this. And I've always known that sports, and of course academics, but sports was going to be a big thing that paid for my college. And the way that I was going with softball, it seemed like track was the better option. So, you know, I stuck with that, and I got lucky.
Yeah, well, you worked hard, that's for sure.
Thank you.
So you're going to UVA. You're going to be on the track and field team. How did you get to that point? When did you start thinking about, I want to do this in college, or this is what I want to do?
So the day that, I don't know the exact date, but the day that we opened, like, colleges were allowed to start talking to us our junior year. I think the summer before our junior year, sometime around there. I actually got a call. My first call was from West Point.
Okay.
So of course it's my first call, day of. I get it that afternoon. It's like a spam call that showed up on my phone, so that was interesting. But that was the first call I got, and immediately I was just like, well, you know, their interest was really intriguing and it was very nice. So that's what started me off. And then as far as track goes, it's easier in some ways to get recruited by schools because you have your mark. You know, you throw or you run however fast you run, you jump however far you jump. So you tell a coach, this is what I jump. This is where I think I'm going to get, maybe if you want to include that. And then past that, it's up to the coach. A lot of schools actually have their recruiting standards on their website. So I just went, I saw where I was at, where I thought I was going to be senior year, and I emailed all those coaches. I really just sent out mass emails to everyone. And then after that, around, I think this past summer, and then a little bit in the fall of this year, I went on a lot of recruiting visits. So a lot of schools, you know, they either flew me there or I drove up and they, you know, put me in a hotel room or I slept with one of the athletes in their dorm room, and I got to see classes. I got to see how the track team works. I got to meet everyone, and so that was a pretty good experience. I got really lucky that, like, a lot of people will go with their parents and do visits and stuff like that around the campus, and they'll have students show them around, but I really got an in-depth look at what the athletic and student life would be like.
That's awesome.
At each of these schools. So, yeah.
And then, so how did you decide? Were there deciding factors? Were there things that you just knew?
Yeah.
Being a former, being a UVA girl
alum,
myself, of course you chose UVA, but I'd like to hear how you got to that point.
So I took a lot of visits. My four main schools were, I went on a visit to Yale. I really loved it there. I went on a visit to Dartmouth, Duke, and then UVA. So I went on visits to all of these schools. I really, really actually liked Dartmouth. I had gone on the 3 Yale, Duke, Dartmouth visits before I went on my UVA visit, and I really enjoyed Dartmouth, and I actually ended up committing there at first. And then after being deferred from from early decision, that sort of opened me up to be able to talk to everyone. So I started talking to William and Mary and UVA and even Liberty for a hot second. But I went on that visit to UVA, and I've never felt luckier to be deferred to regular decision at a school. I went on that UVA visit, and I absolutely loved the team. I loved Coach Amo. He's coming here from Harvard, I think. He's a really good hammer coach. And I was talking to him, and I just Mark Dennis, our head coach, he's probably the best coach I have ever had. He's definitely the best coach I've ever had, probably the best coach ever. But I really saw the way that he acted with his athletes. I saw that as a mirror of how Mark treats all of his athletes. I really just felt really at home at UVA, and it's close, and it would be nice to be close to family because Dartmouth is all the way in New Hampshire. So I did finally end up committing to UVA, and I'm really, really happy with my decision.
Yeah, well, that's great. Now, you mentioned hammer.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means. What is
that?
So
in college, we don't really do hammer or weight in Virginia for high school. It's mainly a club track team thing. But in college, there are the 5 throws. There's shot and disc, which is what I do, hammer and weight, which kind of go together, kind of don't, and then javelin. I'm sure, javelin. But weight and hammer is just a big, heavy ball at the edge of a long wire, and you spin around and throw it. I've never touched a hammer. I've never touched a weight. I've never done any of that, but he seems really excited about my potential in that. So I'm really excited to start in college. But yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Well, we can't wait to see all the amazing things that you do. So when do you go? Do you have to go early?
I'm still waiting for that answer. Okay. I'm not too sure yet. But sorry. But because we don't start until the winter season, I don't know if I'll have to go early because we'll have a whole fall season to prepare. But as soon as he tells me I have to be on campus, I'll go to campus. It's 45 minutes down the road, so it's not a huge deal. I'm just excited.
Well, that's great. So looking back at your academic journey, your athletic journey at Culpeper County High School, do you have any? You probably haven't had a chance to think about it, but any thing that stands out?
Honestly, I've been so lucky to have so many amazing supportive people in my life. I also work at the office at Culpeper High as a receptionist, and I work there with Sarah Reckemer. She kind of works by me in the office. So we've had that job since junior year, and we also go to Gov School together. So her friendship has really gotten me through a lot, and it's just I've had a lot of supportive people. I had an injury spring season at the end of my junior year. The spring season of my junior year, I went in for an ego lift I was deadlifting in the weight room, and my form's always been terrible. I was trying to break the school record, and I hurt my back pretty bad. So I did still compete, which was probably one of the worst ideas I've ever had. So by the end of the season, it was bad. I won the state meet, but I was throwing maybe 20 feet below my disc PR, and I didn't PR again in shot. So that was rough. And so having her there, having Mark there to really encourage us all, not only encouraged me, but I've also helped out coaching the younger kids on the team. So having him there to kind of take over that and be super supportive to them when I couldn't be because I was, in a different headspace. Just having all the people, it's just, I've gotten really, really lucky.
That's great. Now, I think I saw something maybe in the last week that you broke another record, broke your own record?
Yeah. So junior year, I finally broke the discus record. I broke the outdoor shot put record at Spring States my sophomore year, but the discus record I broke in the spring of my junior year right before I hurt my back. So every time, of course, I PR in any of my events, I'll break the school record again. So at regionals this past weekend, I think I threw 153 in disc, which is I think a 7-foot PR. Me and Mark, we were very, very excited about that.
That's a big PR there.
Yes. So that was really exciting. My series of throws was pretty bad, so I was getting kind of nervous because I wanted to PR, obviously, and so I hit that mark. It was nowhere near what I thought I was going to hit. I thought I was maybe going to break 148-ish, so it was really nice. I think U20 national championships are, I think I had to hit 158 feet, so I'm about 5 feet from that. And states this weekend is actually my last chance to hit that in order to qualify for U20s. So really hoping for another PR.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So next stop, states.
Yes.
And then UVA.
And then nationals.
And then nationals.
And then
okay.
UVA.
And then UVA.
Yeah.
So you'll have a busy summer.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, everyone in Culpeper will be watching you and looking for those PRs and all of those accomplishments. And congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of great things, but I know this is only the beginning.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what you do next.
I've traveled, seen other parts of the world. I've thought about other counties, but I think it's best here in Culpeper. I think a young teacher would want to come to Culpeper. It's a good place to start out. That first year or two is very hectic and you're very busy. You've got to put in a lot of extra hours, but there's a lot of rewards.
I know a lot of professors leading into my first year, and even just fellow teachers were kind of like, do everything you can just to survive through it. But I really enjoyed the fact of being here. I haven't just survived, but definitely there have been moments of just thriving, which has been fruitful for me, just through the students and having a supportive staff and administration.
Kind of fell in love with the place the first time I came here. Great administrators and great co-workers, so it feels like home.
My journey to Culpeper is actually kind of funny. I was adamant that I was never leaving where I was from, and Culpeper reached out to me, and they were so passionate about their students and finding good teachers, and they showed me just this amazing community. Everyone was so welcoming and friendly, and I fell in love with it from the day I came down.
We have the mentor program, and it's just not inside the building that we try to bond with the new teachers. We also invite them to social events and other things outside of the building.
I think it's appealing because a lot of the students here need the teachers. I feel like a lot of places the students don't rely too much on the teachers, but here in Culpeper you feel like you really can help the students and be part of that, and the people you work with all feel the same way. The administrators are extremely supportive, and it's just a great place to be.
It's such a community and a family. I feel so supported, and just like I'm wanted to be here. I'm genuinely appreciated here. And just being here, being with my class, it's just wonderful.
It's a great place to work. You should totally come here. It really is. It's life-changing. I don't want to leave. I want to be here forever, so it's a great place to be.
Welcome back to Accent on Education. The next special guest that we have today is recent Eastern View High School graduate Jack Steisslinger. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. It really is.
Well, we're so excited. I'm so excited to talk to you today because you have accomplished great things at Eastern View, including most recently composing an entire band composition that was incredible, and then conducting the piece with the Eastern View High School band. So that is what I want to talk about. When did you start writing music?
Oh, I mean, it's since I started music, I was always wondering. I was like playing notes because I played the clarinet in 6th grade. So I was playing notes, but I was wondering, I was like, how do you write them? How do you make a piece? So it was always something that was in my mind, but I didn't really start writing music until I actually began guitar lessons, which it seems completely unrelated, but this tutor was like super inspirational for me. And we moved on to learning music theory. And once I started learning theory, I was like, well, what can you do with this theory? Mm-hmm. And once I started to learning, I just fell in love with writing music. And it was a really great experience to learn how to have rules and then break those rules. And it was super exciting. And I began writing, I think, my first piece over the summer of like my sophomore going into my junior year. Mm-hmm. And for fanfare in particular, that was the end of my first semester as a junior in high school.
Okay, so you started it then, and how long did it take you?
So that's a very interesting question because you could see it from many different angles. So the initial sketch was like 5 days, but then it had to be revised. And then we played it originally, so we played it at the end of my junior year. We read through it, but we didn't actually perform it or rehearse it that much. So after that, I actually had a little bit more time to go back and revise it. So the final version was finished by around February to March of this year. So it's been, on and off project of revising, writing, doing more stuff, because I wanted it to be as good as I can make it. And I feel like I've really accomplished that vision with this piece.
I would agree with that for sure. So what was your inspiration?
My inspiration? Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I think everyone who really came before me has just been inspiring. So all the great conductors and composers. So I could name, a list of hundreds of composers and conductors. I would say, if I had to point to one, it would be Gustav Holst for fanfare, at least. And he has just very bold writing style and brass and, just really bold style. And I really love that. And listening to his pieces, it's just great. So really, he was a big influence on my writing. And then, of course, my tutor as well. He was also another big influence because it's, again, I love breaking rules for some reason. It's just in my nature.
So you mentioned guitar, but your primary instrument in the band has been...
Clarinet.
Yeah. What other instruments do you play?
Well, I started learning, I want to say around my sophomore, junior year, I started learning piano. I took piano lab at EV, and I just wanted to pick it up as a helpful compositional tool. I'm definitely not performance ready. I don't play it as a main instrument, but it's a helpful tool to learn how theory intervolves with all the notes and everything. And I'm also just started learning trumpet again as a compositional device because it's a brass instrument. I wanted to learn just a little bit about every instrument. And I think that's super helpful because I understand, that's how sound, you blow into an instrument, it creates sound. And that sort of process is really, that hands-on process is just really relevant to being a composer, that I find it super helpful. So clarinet, a little bit of piano. I'm learning trumpet only as, again, a compositional device, but those are the main instruments. Okay, and so I wonder if people don't realize, you had to write a part for every single instrument in the band. Oh yeah, that's the worst part. There's so much more to writing a piece than just, I have an idea, I'm just gonna put some notes down on paper. No, it's a whole process. So, just to list at the beginning, you have to learn how to use a notation software, and that's basically just a program that allows you to put notes into the computer, and the computer can give you what those notes would look like on paper. Okay. So you not only have to learn that, you have to write a piece, then you have to understand, every single instrument at the same time, which is it's a lot of work. And then you have to go, okay, now that I have music, I know what it's supposed to sound like, now I have to give it to performers. So that's where you have to take it out and take every part and then export it and give it to the separate instruments so they can all play it. Okay, so when was the decision made that the band was going to perform your piece? I think, I want to say at the end of my first semester as my junior year. Around that time, I showed it to my band director and I was like, hey, this is a cool piece I have. I just wanted to show you. And he's like, we're playing that. So I was like, can totally what? See him saying that but too. The That's thing great. About my junior year, we wanted to play it that year, but unfortunately it was a chaotic year. We went to Disney that year, so it was jam-packed of all these things going on, and it was just we don't have time to rehearse this piece. It was a difficult piece, so we wanted to give it an extra year, and to end it on my senior year would be pretty awesome. So yeah. Now, was it always the plan for you to conduct? I don't know. I think initially it was kind of an idea. It was always just an idea until it happened, eventually in rehearsal. We're like, all right, get up on stage and start conducting. And I'm just like, what? There's, 60 students staring back at me, all my friends and my peers. How do I do this? It's just, I've been standing in front of them and I'm like, okay, I guess we go now. So the decision was made, it was kind of just over time. It was like, can I conduct this? I don't know. And then eventually one day my band director just says, all right, step up on stage, you're going to conduct. And I'm just like, okay, awesome. Here you go. And then we rehearsed it, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, truly. Well, I am excited that we have it recorded. And so we're going to show the entire piece as a part of this episode, but it definitely was just amazing. So you did an awesome job. But I think conducting is a whole other skill set
So you really had to take everything that you've learned in all of your music probably and put it all together. But I also heard a rumor that there was a late decision to add an instrument to the band, and that you had to go back and add a part. Is that true?
Yes. So it was probably maybe 2 weeks before we had only a small handful of rehearsals left, and my band director comes up to me. He's like, "You know what? I think I want to get my wife to play it." And it would be awesome because both my band director, who's Adam Roach, and my middle school band director, who's Rebecca Roach, they are great influences on me, and they both want to play in the piece for the premiere of the piece. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll add an oboe part, and that's what Rebecca plays, or Mrs. Roach. So yeah, it was really awesome to have that opportunity, and I wrote out the part and just got it back. I was like, this is cool. I'd love to have my band director, both of my band directors, who the piece is dedicated to, as well as the Eastern View Band, to get to play in the piece. I just think it's now that I think back at it, it's just such a cool thing to have my band directors play in this piece that was written by a student.
Was it intimidating to have them sitting in front of you?
I think it was more like a kind of farewell almost. Like, this is like the last big thing, and then I go off and I graduate. So it was kind of more like this is the moment of my high school career. It's all led up to this. So it was honestly awesome, really.
That's great. So you just graduated, and what's next?
What's next? Well, I'm going off to college. I'm going to be attending JMU to study a composition degree. So more fanfare, basically.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to, and I know the entire community looks forward to, seeing all the great things that you do, all the wonderful music that you write, because I know you have a really bright future, because you've done amazing things so far, and this is just the beginning. But I appreciate you coming here today and sharing this with us, and we will share your piece, Fanfare for Band. Is that the correct name? So Fanfare for Band. And again, can't wait to see what you do in the future. Now we're going to watch Eastern View High School's concert band's spring concert, where they played Fanfare for Band, written and conducted by our very own Jack Steisslinger. Thank you for watching today's episode of Accent on Education. Look forward to seeing you next time.